Yo, g'day guys, Clevo King here, doing something different today. I'm out helping a buddy with his Phase 6 project. It's pretty cool. That's it over here behind me. I'll show you a bit more about that later, but what we're doing is we're going to be bolting a Toploader 4-speed onto the back of a freshly rebuilt Cleveland. It's very interesting Cleveland. It's got a bit cool backstory, so I'll tell you a bit of information, but there's something that I came across here that I want to point out in the video so that people don't get caught out by this same thing. The same way that there's two different C4s with the 157 tooth flex plate and the 164, there's two different Toploader bell housings. So what I've got here to show you guys is the two bell housings beside each other. This one here is what you would find in an XW, XY, XA 351 car with a hydraulic slave cylinder attachment to connect to your fork. And it's a 164 tooth flywheel with the really big pumped bell. This one over here is early winter. This one takes the 157 tooth. Notice that it's got this flat ledge on the back of the starter motor snout. This is what caught my eye the other day, and I thought, I was looking at the back of the engine and I noticed it's the big Clevo flywheel with a nice clutch, and it's all been machined and everything ready to go. So we've had to quickly get another bell for it, so I just thought I'd make this little video here with a few tips. See, this bell housing's come out of a Mustang or something that would have been a cable shifter. No attachment on the side for a hydraulic slave cylinder. Yeah, if you're good enough at welding iron, you can weld two bosses on there and tap them and make it suit one, but it's not an easy job. It's kind of hard to weld onto these bell housings too. Got to be preheated and that, but alrighty, that's the first little tip. Now I'll show you a few things about this engine. It's pretty cool. It's a 351 Cleveland, fresh, fully rebuilt. It's got an interesting backstory. The camshaft that's used in this engine came out of the Coca-Cola Mustang. It's one of the camshafts that they ran, hydraulic flat tappet. It's been put on an engine dyno and it made 430 horsepower before the mechanical fuel pump was holding it back, so it's sweet. Who knows what power it would make at full revs. Roller rockers, decent valve springs, looks like a nice little Mallory twin point. That's a bit old tech. I think it's going to run an MSC or an ICE ignition. Got the ute over there, guys. Always a bit of fun taking the ute out for a cruise. Let's have a bit of a look at this. Absolutely beautiful. The bro and I were out the other day, we threw the base plates in, we got a steering box in, we pulled the pedal box out that was for the cable, and we modified a hydraulic one from an XC to suit this. So it's got a hydraulic pedal box now fitted. We've put the steering column out and back in. I've got a couple of plugs to reconnect under there, but it's coming up real nice, guys. Look, drag links back in connected. Beautiful. Have a bit of a look. Have a bit of a look at this. This is gonna be unreal. Beautiful. Okay, once we get it out and do a bit more work, we'll get a bit more footage so you can capture it. Sick. Thanks for watching. Smash that like and subscribe. We'll get into the job now. We're gonna bolt the top loader on, then we'll chuck our set of pipes on, and we're gonna lower this straight into the bay where it's gonna be going to get a custom exhaust made up. Right, thanks guys. Use a strap to fit the engine. So we'll get this in and secured. Now guys, and this is quite important, whenever you're doing a gearbox, the mating surface absolutely cannot have any shit on it. If there's a grain of dirt or something sitting on the back of the engine, the sandwich plate or inspection plate, or on the front of this bell housing, you won't get it sent perfectly level. One little grain of dirt here at the back of the gearbox could throw it out a fair bit, so we'll just double check all of this is wiped. Then we'll get our new bolts that are over here. We'll bolt the bell housing onto the back of the engine, torque it up. Luckily the clutch was already done, that's awesome, that saved me a bit of time. This might look a bit dodgy guys, but it's a really handy tip. The way I was fitting engines for years is with a chain from the front of the head here over to the back of the head here. It's probably a little bit safer, but you just can't get that angle when you're trying to get the engine in on the right spot, because it actually keeps picking it up on the piece in relation to the crane arm. This keeps everything level, so we'll get it bolted up, then I'll show you how I'm going to redo this strap when we actually go to send it in the bay. The angle's going to be quite extreme, freaks a lot of people out when they see it, but if you don't do the right thing, you just simply can't get the engine in the box high enough to get it in. Alrighty, I'll give that a bit of a wipe, we'll get the next scene. Thanks for watching. Get a bit of that ute there. That looked like a drop of rain, so we'll have to hurry up. Okay, straight on. Beautiful, that's what you want guys. You want to just be able to put it on by hand. You don't want to be fighting it. Alrighty, so that's nice and straight. Straight on, bang. Alrighty, we'll get our bolts out over here.
How are you?
That sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Yeah, sorry, what I didn't mention then guys, there's 2 shorter ones for the top, 4 longer ones for the sides. They're a 5/8 head. They don't need to be done up that tight, from memory they're about 35 foot-pounds, but I'll look that up quickly. Got the torque wrench behind me. We'll send these up by finger, and then we'll put these two little bad boys into the inspection plate. There'll be a 1/2 inch head.
Oh, it looked like a Hooter. Rollers and all set.
Yeah.
Great, so they're all slightly nasty at the bottom. Righty, I'll grab my 5/8 is that here, 16mm. I like to just do a bit of a crisscross pattern on them. Got to use common sense guys, being into the block there. Once you've had something machined or painted, there could be dirt dropped in there for bolts not doing up flush. Pull it back out, clean the thread, get the bell housing back off. Don't just try and send it in. It's very easy to bust a corner off of a Cleveland block. I've had countless engines brought into me, people have busted bits off of and said, what can you do? And it's not an easy thing to fix. You're best to not break it is the best bet. These are doing up mint. Absolutely mint. Okay, I'll grab my ratchet spanner for the bottom. I'll get a torque wrench for these. We'll just double check and we'll send them home. Alright guys, I just looked that up. Lucky I did. It's 37 to 42. Because this is quite a powerful engine, everything's brand new, we're going to go 45 foot-pounds, and because it's a long socket, if you're going through an extension, it pays to add 5 foot-pounds because of deflection through the connections and the length of that, but we should be right here. So we'll get these torqued up, come and secure the engine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Alright, I think that's all of them. Just bang them all off now in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mint. Another little thing to pay attention to, guys, when you're doing it up. Just have a bit of a look around it. You don't want to see any shadow line. You want it like this, absolutely squashed. No step on one side. It's a good idea to get a new sandwich blade if it's a manual. If you've got one that's bent and it's not sitting flush here with the bell housing, get a new one. Otherwise you're going to have a hell of a time getting a starter motor in. Fighting it to push that against. It's only thin steel, but it takes a fucking lot of pressure to push that back flat when you're trying to bolt it on. Right guys, so that's it. As we mentioned before, make sure you've got the right bell. This one's coming along nice. Alrighty, I think it's time we go and get the box out. It's about time we bolt a top loader on, mate. Just thought I'd quickly film this, guys. This was taped up to prevent any dirt going in, which is a great thing, but the glue on tape has a bit of a reaction with steel on masking tape or whatever you put on there, so we're just going to clean this little bit of surface rust off of here. It's not super important, it's a good finish, it's pretty flat, but you want that throwout bearing to ride real nicely on the snout of the input shaft, and you don't want any crap on here for it to engage into the clutch wheel. So we'll just clean all of that. I've already given that a quick blast, then I thought, you know what, I'll quickly just show this step. Cleanliness is next to godliness, and it's super important. This surface here is really clean too, guys, but just a quick wipe down because there's a couple of little loose bits of stuff stuck on it. Alrighty, let's get that clean. Let's get this 4-speed thrown on the back of the engine and then get it over there. Alright guys, so I've got this all cleaned up. Something to have a bit of a look at. If people have given top loaders a hard time, they have a tendency of starting to walk on this spline here from clutch dumps. This one's really mint. Another thing to look for is that there's no grooves on the input shaft from an incorrectly adjusted throwout bearing or a worn one. So this one's really nice and straight, there's no scratches or grooves. And you want to check this snout that there's no dingles, because this is actually going to ride on a bearing in the back of the crank. Another little thing, guys, just have a quick look at the output shaft. Top loaders stick out of the box a little bit, so they have a habit of picking up dirt from sitting around, so we'll just wipe that shit out of there. You want to go and push a tail shaft on and wedge that dirt into the box. Everything else looks good. It's a bit of an early box with the old filler bolt on the side there like that. Rug AR1, so we'll have to decode that later on, see what it's out of. It's got a little wiring clip on the top there still. I can't see a reverse switch built into the box, so it's another little thing that tells me it's quite early. It does have the later model extension housing with the bump here to clear an XA XB style shifter, so that's unusual. But anyway, cool, everything's checking out good. And another thing just to quickly look at, just make sure your top loader's got a flat mount bolt for it to take a normal mount like this. A lot of them from US stuff has like a different pattern on the back. What you want to do is loop up the inside of the bearing and the input shaft. Should use grease or something. We've just got engine assembly lube here, just a bit on the inside of here. Alright guys, so something else to put a bit of lubrication on is this fork here, so you don't get flat spots. And in here on the pivot, I wiped this off before, so we'll just put a nice bit of grease on there like that. Okay, mint. That's done. Right onto the box. Wait. Yep. Mint. Okay, guys. It's all good. It's just like 2 seconds anyway. Get these started so we can let go of the box. Torque them up. It's actually a pleasure to work on something when it's all new like this with brand new bolts. Beautiful. Look how nice that's doing up. Okay. That's getting close, so we'll just crisscross around the box here. It's cast iron there. They're not super strong. Okay, so 40. 40. 40. Pop this one off that I got missed before. 40. Right, so our fork's in. It's lined up pretty good where our slave cylinder's going to go. Everything's greased, lubed, cleaned. That's pretty much as good as you can get a top loader bolted onto an engine. Pays to have that little bit of attention to detail, guys. Especially when you want to change gears. Top loaders are a bit old school, and just one little thing you miss on the installation, and you'll probably hear people complaining about them being like a shit box, but there's nothing wrong with them if you fit them correctly. They're awesome. Alright guys, thanks for watching. We'll smash that out. I'm going to tinker with the starter motor. We'll get that on, then we'll get into the pipes. Righty, got the cameras recharged. Let's get over here, show you what you've missed out on, guys. You've got this beautiful Clevo here on the stand rigged up. Now see that angle, guys? Kind of defies what you would think that you need to see to get it into the car, but with the firewall you really need it high like this. The reason I like to have it on the strap is so you can get this bit of an angle when you need it. You've got that little bit of a hinge, it's tied off nicely. So what we've done while the camera was charging then, guys, we've got our starter motor clocked in. This one has about 5 or 6 location points. You can rotate it around the housing. So I found this spot here where it's just away from the pipe enough where it won't burn the solenoid, but not rotated enough where it's going to interfere with chassis rail. We've got some nice bolts on there, and see here, this is the most important thing, guys, with the manual starter motor spacer. Now, I should probably add a little something into this video when I get home. I've got a heap of starter motors. You can have factory ones that don't need a spacer, that have got a shorter snout. But if you're unsure, put the spacer on first, and then you can always take it off later. If you don't have the spacer on and you bolt this straight here, it'll smash the ring gear out so hard when that solenoid engages, you will actually chip your flywheel. So look at this, guys, new starter motor. We've got the pipe on like we did in our other video. We've picked it up for clearance. See on the bolt hole, it's as high as you can get it, so our exhaust radius here is going to be real mint into the head, and we get that little bit of extra clearance at the back of the pipe. It's kind of raining a bit, so we'll speed this up. I'll set this up, guys. We're going to jack this up, roll the car out and get this into the bay. Alright guys, so it stopped raining. What we've done here is got the engine up and we've got that angle. What I was talking about before is you want the back of the gearbox here to be lower than the front of the sump here, so that you can get that in under the firewall and still clear the radiator cross member at the front here, or the radiator support panel I should say. Right guys, that's it. Let's roll the car out, have a bit of a crack. We need to maybe center it a bit as we come along. How's this looking?
I reckon it's going to come off that lid.
We've got about half a litre. We're looking very close. Okay, it's on the edge of the top one, the bottom one. Okay, good. Everything as close as we can. Yep. You okay with that, or should I come
Yep.
in?
I've got it.
Yep.
I'm just worried about that clip.
I'll get this as close to the firewall, but this has to be over here, and then we'll start to go down just a little bit. So maybe right there. It'll come back towards the firewall a bit as well.
Yeah, that's good because there's enough room for it to do that.
What we've got to do, guys, is stop here where the sump still clears the front radiator support panel. Might just quickly show this angle, guys, even though it's a little bit of a struggle. Look at this, guys. Full clearance here under the support panel, and the back of the gearbox fully clearing under the firewall. We are slightly holding it down, keeping it level. You don't want to scratch any paint. Right, let's get this back over here set up. That should be good enough. Alright, I think the car might have to come forward just a little bit now, eh? Just a bit. Is that going under nicely?
Yeah.
Okay, a bit more, bit more, bit more. Bit more. I might have to go down just a bit. That's hitting the firewall. Oh, no, hang on. I can see you. I've got to go down fairly. Oh, sorry.
I'm just going to watch that radio support at the front.
Maybe if you come around the front here, so.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. If I can hold it, if you can let it down.
Yep.
That's good. I just can't see the back
It's
anymore.
alright, it's way high. Get that working too. Yep. Back now. Start to level it out. Try and somehow
Lift it up.
a little bit higher. Yeah, perfect. Yep. See ya. There's a little tiny scratch there.
It's alright.
Not happy about it.
It's all good, mate.
I reckon I can touch it up. Right. Just go down more, hey? Just
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, one of them steering column screws on the tractor.
Is it?
Yeah, it's clear, but if we chop down, we'll be fine.
Has this got oil in it?
Motor? Yeah.
It does.
Yep. Oh, okay.
It's just a little bit off centre.
Yeah.
So that's alright. Wait, I'll hold it there.
Now
I'm
we-
going to switch the shock tower on this edge.
We'll clear that steering column.
So close. It's on the mountain here. How's your side?
Yeah, you've got to. Nah, got to.
Come back a bit. I'll
Yeah.
get that. We'll just have to angle it. Might have to kick the pipe onto the car just to get it open that way a bit, mate. Just make sure that's clear. Yep.
Yep.
Is that straight?
Yeah, now we're just going to come down. And it should line up.
Oh, that's it. It's on the mount. It's beautiful.
You did really well. You did really well.
Let's get a little bit of footage of that and then we'll get the mount in. See, there's not a lot of room back here, guys. If you have bigger fabricated covers, they come even closer, and in an XWXY you've got to be even more careful because the pipes are pretty much touching the shock tower here. Being an EXD engine bay, you've got that little bit more room. Like a glove, guys. That's one of the smoothest ones we've done to actually be able to lower it straight on the mount. Normally you've got to do a bit of a readjustment underneath with the jack. repositioning the straps. Look at that, straight on. Beautiful. Wow, that pops, eh? That new intake on the green, look at that. We didn't get a chance to check this out before, guys, so we'll just quickly have a bit of a look before it starts raining. Look at the wheels on here. 13-inch Simmons, guys. Chunk, absolute chunk. I've never seen anything like it. Look at the dish. Absolutely beautiful. Look at the flares here, guys, and this back wing. Wow, this blew my mind. I've seen a lot of pictures of these, but I've never actually gotten to have a look at one on a car in person and see how it actually comes over all of the lines and edges. It's a very hard thing to actually fit onto a car. Look at it. Oh guys, when this thing is finished, this is gonna be sick. Hopefully I'm gonna be lucky enough to be out here when we break this engine on for the first time. The engine was actually built by Alan Moffat's engine builder. It's gonna be sick. Oh guys, can you see it? Yes! Yoo! Alrighty guys, so we've got the cross member here. That's the next step. What we were just doing then was getting the 2 link pin bolts in. Well, you've got plenty of room, pays to get them in. So this one's in, the other one's in. So the engine is now secured to the mounts, to the chassis at the front. What we want to do is secure the gearbox in. So we've got the jack onto the back here. We're going to jack it up so we can get enough clearance underneath. We'll ditch that rag and we'll get this little cross member and the engine mount and a couple of studs, and we'll start lining it all back up and putting it all back in. Phew! Not long left now, guys, and she'll be ready for the next step. Wow, like that, guys, we just made it. It is bucketing down. The good news is the engine's in the bay, both pumps are on, top loader's on. Woo!